If you're looking to get a pet, whether it be in the near future or later on in life, you should definitely rescue rather than buy one from a pet store or from a breeder. The reasons that you should rescue are animal shelters all across the United States are already way overpopulated with perfectly good pets. Um, it's more cost effective to rescue from your local shelter than it is to buy from a pet store or from a pet breeder. And by rescuing from your local pet shelter, you are saving that animal's life. It's estimated by the ASPCA that 6.5 million animals are currently in animal shelters across the United States. Of these 6.5 million, roughly 3.3 million are dogs and 3.2 million are cats. Now, the total population is down from 7.2 million when it was recorded in 2011, but 6.5 million is still way too high for these shelters to be able to properly care for these animals. And if you're looking for a specific type of cat or dog, whether it be big, small, medium, or a certain color, or have a certain personality, if you go to your local animal shelter, chances are they're going to have exactly what you're looking for. I've adopted both of my dogs, and my roommate's adopted his dog, and they're exactly what we were looking for, and we couldn't be happier with our pets. Um, as for the cost, if you buy a pet from a pet store or a breeder, the Best Friends Animal Society says that on average you'll be paying $500 to $1,000. You may pay more based on the animal or the breeder or the breed of the animal. You may pay less, but that's just the average. Once you buy those pets, you have to take them to the vet and get their vaccinations. They may be up to date, but you're still going to have to get, for younger pets such as puppies and kittens, you're going to have to get more rounds of vaccinations. And then if you want to get those pets spayed or neutered, you're going to have to pay for that, and that's about $100 to $200. Now, if you compare that to rescuing a pet from a shelter, you're going to be paying between $50 and $200. And once you pay that $50 and $200, most pets from the shelter are up to date on their vaccinations. 9 times out of 10 they are. A lot of times you will get a voucher for their future round of vaccinations if they need it. You may get a voucher for a spay or neuter, and you may get a microchip. I went over here to Taylor County just recently and adopted my second dog, and for $100 I got a microchip. He was up to date on his vaccinations, got a voucher for a second round of vaccinations, and got a voucher to get him neutered if I choose. And that being said, you're saving their life. If you buy a pet from a breeder or from a pet store, that's just for profit. If you don't buy, like if you were to walk into a pet store tomorrow and see a pet that you wanted, whether it be a dog or a cat, and you decide not to get it, and then you leave and come back a week later, that dog or cat will still be there if it hasn't been bought yet. Now, for animal shelters, that's not the case. It's estimated that 1.5 million animals are euthanized every year in animal shelters. Of those 1.5 million, 670,000 are dogs, and roughly 860,000 are cats. There's 3 main reasons why they euthanize animals in shelters. The first and most prevalent reason being illness. Animal shelters are breeding grounds for disease. Unfortunately, they have too many animals to keep all the pens and whatnot clean. So the longer an animal's in there, the more likely it is to contract a disease. If the animal's aggressive, which is the second biggest reason, there's not a whole lot that can be done unless it slowly starts to warm up to people and becomes adoptable. And the third most prevalent reason is overpopulation. If the shelter becomes overpopulated and they can no longer take care of all the animals, they'll start euthanizing the ones that are least likely to be adopted. So by going to your local shelter and adopting an animal, not only are you getting it out of the disease-ridden circumstances, you're also cutting down on the population and saving that animal's life and possibly other animals in there for their opportunity to be adopted or rescued. You would think that because of all the benefits of adoption as opposed to breeding or buying from a pet store, that would be the most likely option people would go with. Unfortunately, that's not the case. The American Pet Products Association, or APPA, estimates that 44% of American households have one or more pets, whether it be a cat, a dog, or whatever. Of those households, for cats, 31% got them from an animal shelter, and between pet stores and breeders, 9% got them. So more cats are being adopted per capita than dogs. However, for dogs, of the households that had them, 34% got them from breeders, and 16% got them from a pet store. 23% got them from an animal shelter. So, with all the benefits of rescuing an animal, the numbers should be higher for animals in shelters. Finally, to close, the ASPCA did a study, and they wanted to see why animals were being rehomed, whether it be going through a animal shelter or the Humane Society, or someone gives their pet up to one of their relatives. The reason of 47% of dogs that were rehomed and 42% of cats, the biggest reason was either problematic behavior, aggressive behavior, they grew larger than expected, or had health problems that were not able to be handled by the owner, whether it be financially or whatever. So if you're going to go get a pet, make sure, whether you get it from a pet store or a breeder or from the Humane Society or shelter or whatever, make sure that you are ready for that pet. It's going to be a financial burden. They're going to misbehave. If it's a younger pet, you're going to have to house train them. Just make sure that you're aware of that, because the last thing we need is more pets getting bought, not rescued, but being bought and then going back into the shelter. That's all I got for you today. Thank you.